Hi, Gemini. Welcome to your July 2020 Astro Alchemy. It's Raina here. And so this is a month following your solar return where Venus has retrograded in your sign. As I record this, it is still at a time when the sun has not gone into Cancer yet. And so the solar eclipse at 0 degrees of Cancer is still in the future. And for many of you, you may actually be listening before that transit as well. So to let you know that, I just want to let you know, in case you are listening then, or even if you're listening afterwards, that there are two new moons in Cancer. One in June, one in July. So the one in June is on the 21st of June at 0 degrees of Cancer, which means that for Geminis, this will actually be in the first house of the self, because it's on the cusp with Cancer. So the second one will, for sure, for the vast majority of you, be in the second house. And therefore, well, I guess I shouldn't be that confident about it, because it might be in the third house for some people. But I'm going to just say that it's the second house. And if that's the case, then that will definitely be a new beginning for your finances. And this black moon, as they call the second new moon in a month, is taking place on July 20th. And it's part of a new 2.5 year cycle, because the next one won't be coming along for over 2 years. And therefore, in that interim, you may have like a new way of making money, or just having new attitudes towards finances. The more intentional you get about it, I think the greater the chance of something manifesting. So just wanting to make you aware of that, because I think in a lot of ways July is going to be more mellow than June is. But we do have a lunar eclipse, so it's not like we're completely free of the eclipses right now. Beginning on the first of the month, Saturn goes back into Capricorn. Now, you may remember that Saturn in March entered the sign of Aquarius, which is your fellow air sign, your sister air sign. Maybe I should say your brother air sign, since they're both masculine signs. Now, our air element is masculine. So, in any case, this is the ninth house, Aquarius, to you. So Saturn in that house may be like new beginnings with something that is connected to getting serious about academic work. For some people, you may need that for your career. So if you have already gotten into, or you could just say job, but I with Saturn ruling the career sector, that's why I'm saying career, you may be in a certain line of work, and they're saying that you have to get some kind of college credits or a degree in order to really advance. And so that's something that is representing that ninth house. It's going to really kick in 2021. This has been a year where Saturn has kind of dipped his toe into the water of the ninth house. But now it's going back into Capricorn, which is your eighth house. Now, in the last few years, since December of 2017, you have had Saturn in this sector, and if you are in a committed partnership, you may have found that your partner has not been able to provide financially as much as they had been previously, and you've had to kind of step up to the plate. Or if you were also not earning that much money, then that could have created financial issues altogether. So you probably were happy to see Saturn leave that house. And just to let you know, Saturn will only be here until the end of the year, and it will be retrograding until the end of September. So I don't think that the full-on Saturn effect will really be an issue until the end of September, when it goes direct, until mid-December. And that, you might say to me, yeah, but that's months, and I just don't think that it's that big of a deal, because really the other part of this is that there may have been something related to shared resources that you still hadn't really learned the lesson of, that Saturn was there to provide. So it's coming back, and in these few months before Saturn goes direct, you can look at how maybe you've been controlling with finances of your partner, or if you're not in a relationship with somebody else, this can even be like a inheritance. I would think, especially if it's connected to the father or the father side of the family somehow, and there may be some kind of conflict with that. But regardless, and there, like a delay, I should say, rather than a conflict, but it may be also internalized while Saturn is retrograding about, the importance in investing energy in this. And that also goes for 8th house matters like astrology and the tarot. You've had other heavy hitters here. You've had the South Node, which is now moseying over to your 7th house, but you've had Pluto here for the last how many years? Actually, it's been 12 years, so that's a long time. And but you have Jupiter. So Jupiter can, they say, what's the saying? God can take and taketh away, or something like that. That's kind of how it is. It's like you have, and this is kind of indicative of life itself, or symbolic of life itself, is that sometimes you have something that feels like it's an obstacle, but then at the same time, you have something which feels like a blessing or an opportunity. And it's up to you to not get discouraged by what feels like an obstacle and be willing to override that. As long as you can see that the universe is kind of giving her blessings, you don't want to just kind of beat the universe over the head and try to force your will on the universe. But that conscious co-creation that we love to talk about so much. Okay, so that's happening, and then we have a lunar eclipse in Capricorn, 13 degrees. So for some of you, this may affect the house before it. So again, looking back, I mean, for the ones that are in the later degrees, and this may not even be 100% accurate, but it's something. This may actually be falling in your 7th house. And for the other ones, it's going to be in your 8th house. So how will this be different? Well, for the ones that's falling in your 7th house, this can be a time when your partner becomes more understood by you. I mean, this is just one interpretation, because a lunar eclipse can give a great realization and a spiritual download that is not coming from your conscious mind, but is coming from a higher place. And that can give you insight into how to deal with this person, especially if you've been having some issues with them. and maybe lacking understanding for some reason, and then you can gain compassion for them, and that can deepen your relationship. This can be for some people who have had a bad relationship that they just can't find it within themselves to let go of. This can be a chance for you to let go of it and feel okay about it, not feel like afraid of letting go. And it's actually a gift from the universe. It might feel scary to hear that. You might feel like, oh, I don't want to let go of this. But if it's for your higher good, it's going to help you more than it will ever hurt you. So you should definitely embrace what this has to offer. And in the 8th house, this can be shadow work. This can be becoming aware of your shadow, which is the part of you that you kind of disassociate from. This is the house of trauma, the 8th house. So you may have memories of a trauma that you've buried, something that you have swept under the rug, and including very strong emotions, very intense emotions. This is a house of Scorpio. So the feelings that come up can be hard to really deal with, because you might feel as if they're like very, very strong. But the bottom line is that your ability to handle things can lead to being stronger. But also, they say, there's a saying, you're only as sick as your secrets. And that's because when you are, and secrets, sometimes secrets are secrets unto ourselves. So, you know what I mean? Where we don't even remember something. That's why when people are traumatized, they sometimes, blot out memories. And also people who know exactly what happened to them, but they can't find it within themselves to talk about it. It can control the person their whole life. So these are like blessings from the universe for having these things come up, having memories. Sometimes repressed memories are more associated with the 12th house, but I'm including the 8th house because this is a house of psychology. The 12th and 8th houses sometimes kind of overlap with some of the themes, because even the 12th house is associated with mental health. Now, I think what I heard is that the 8th house is more of the conscious mind and the 12th house is the unconscious mind. Now, that makes sense. It's like below the surface, the 8th house, but not necessarily unknown to you. But you may be like, I don't want to deal with this and whatnot. And especially a sign like Gemini, which may tend to like to keep things warm and fuzzy and not very intense and things like that. So that's that. And then Mercury goes direct. Your ruler goes direct at 5 degrees of Cancer. The number 5 is the number of Mercury. And this is on the 12th. So this is going to be in the 2nd house of earned income. What kind of things have you been mulling over regarding your finances? Maybe ideas that you've had that you're hashing out or thinking twice about, actually. And there may even be something like the check is in the mail and you got lost and all that. I was going to say all that good stuff. That's not good, but it'll get sorted out. And I believe when I checked that Mercury will come out of its shadow on the 30th of July. So things get sorted out financially. Mars is in Aries all month. This for you is, oh wow. I hope I got this correct. Yeah, I think I did. I'm talking about another video that I did. This is in your 11th house. Wow. Okay, so having Mars in the 11th house can be a bit combative when it comes to other people in group settings. So like if you are the lone person if you belong to any kind of groups, and this can run the gamut from political organizations to spiritual groups or just circles of friends, and let's say you guys are talking about some issue, and you find out that a lot of people hold differing views than you do, and that just kind of, you're kind of going against the grain. You may, feel like, hey, I feel that, this is how I feel about this, and you may not want to give any kind of, you might not want to kind of cave in about this. You might be willing to fight for your beliefs. This can also be activism. And I talked about this in a couple of my recent new and full moon videos, or basically I think full moon, I'm not sure. Oh, both of them. And what I was saying is that because when Mars was in Pisces, and it was forming a conjunction with Neptune, you have to be careful of the kind of causes that you fight for, because you might be doing so with this sense of over-idealism, not knowing that you're kind of like, because Neptune can be deceptive, that you're being deceived while you're doing this. Now, for you, Mars being in Aries, in that 11th house, that is a house of the humanitarian efforts, and therefore politics and activism. And so that also would apply, because Aries is a very spontaneous or rash sign. So when you're called to act in those kinds of venues, do your research, know what you're doing, be careful of acting on impulse so that it doesn't come back to hurt you. Mars in the 11th house can be fighting with a friend, or maybe just being more active with your friends. It doesn't have to be something negative. I talked about the black moon in Cancer, and the sun goes into Leo on the 22nd. The 22nd obviously of July, and Leo is a friendly angle, sextile to you, Gemini, and this is in your third house, the house that you rule. So this is almost like having your solar return in a way, because the sun is in a house that represents you, and so you may feel kind of those Mercury vibes, those intellectual vibes, and being very communicative and wanting to, be that poster child Gemini person. I don't know how else to put this, but you're more in your element. I think that's the best way of characterizing it. So you feel very comfortable with this third house placement or transit, and therefore I think that will attract good things to you. So in any case, I hope that you enjoyed this, Gemini. Thank you for listening, and if you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Have a great month. Take care. Bye.